Hi, everybody. Welcome to From Adversity to Awakening, Transforming Hardships into Greater Spiritual Connection and Joy. I hope you are experiencing more and more inner peace and joy throughout your life, and you're getting through your obstacles one at a time. I have an amazing guest with us today, Dr. Anita Sanchez. Hi, Anita.
Hello, good to see you.
Yeah, Anita, I know Anita from the Association of Transformational Leaders. And when I met her, I was immediately struck by the strength of her presence, exuding wisdom and light. And I wanted to have her here to share with you her story of moving through adversity and bringing on more and more awakening. So let me tell you a little bit about her, and then we'll get into it. So, Dr. Anita Sanchez. Wait, I need my glasses for this. Is an American Mexican and the CEO and founder of Sanchez Tennis and Associations. She is a change, leadership, culture change, diversity, inclusion, belonging coach, facilitator, and she does all of that in lots of companies and Fortune 500 companies. She is a Mexican American. And as I mentioned above, I mean, she does consulting and training, coaching, speaking, and for education and nonprofits. For decades, Anita bridges Indigenous wisdom and science for individual to social, societal renewal, focusing on leadership, diversity, inclusion, belonging, and cultural transformation. You can reach Anita at Anita-Sanchez.com. We'll talk more about that at the end. Anita also is a board member of many nonprofits. She's gotten tons of awards. Anyway, I think we all can say that she is more than qualified to speak very beautifully today and share with us about her overcoming challenges and coming into awakening. So welcome, Anita.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's see. Why don't you share with us a little bit about your greatest adversity or adversities?
Yes. Well, I think being a human being, there's probably a number of them, but the one that came to mind is the race-related murder of my father back in 1967. And what happened is that after work, I'll just say a little bit about it. After work, he was an alcoholic. He worked really hard, lots of jobs. But after work, he'd go around the corner to the corner bar, have a beer, and then come back home. And this summer day, he went there not knowing that earlier that day, a black man and a white man had a fight. And the white man returned, and my father was sitting in the same chair, and he fired 3 bullets through his head and killed him. And that was a great adversity. My whole
Wait,
life
say,
changed
say
at
that last part
18.
again. And the guy, he was sitting in the same place as the black person that he
Black
beat up.
person. And so when the white guy returned, he just saw his profile. And my dad was a pretty dark complected indigenous Mexican man, especially because he shoveled coal. So the fire, he'd get really dark, especially in the summer. So he just saw his profile and shot 3 bullets through his head, killed him on the spot. And what that then it's changed my life, the life of my 5 brothers and sisters. We all were from 9 to 18. And then, of course, my mom then began to raise us all. And she was raising us before anyway, but with the seventh grade education, she just worked all the time. So there was lots that went into that adversity that all different kinds of beliefs began happening for me that I've had to really work at getting rid of.
Yes,
And yeah.
yes,
So I'll share how I did that though. And
great.
I, okay, first of all, I had dreams. My family's big Indigenous on dreams. And I always dreamt that I was going to grow up and I would connect hearts all over the world. And I drew a picture when I was in kindergarten and we had our hands on each other. It was beautiful. And I
And
think
that
that's
came
what
to
pulled,
be, and that
yeah, so
that
dreams are
came to be.
important.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what that kind of pulled me through the about 10, 12 years that I had to really work at getting rid of some of these beliefs that, oh, I'm never going to be free. I'm never going to be safe. Um, and this man who killed my father, his wife and son had come to our house the week after and just identified themselves who they were. And the woman, the mother, so the white boy is just sitting there, standing there. He was probably about my age. And the woman just started saying, Miss Sanchez, just have to tell you, my husband would never have killed your husband if he knew he was Mexican and Indian, but he thought he was black, and you know how black people are. So she starts saying all these horrible things. And my mom just said, stop, stop. I've never heard my mom scream at a stranger, but she did.
Mhm.
And she said, I'm going to try really hard to pray for your soul, but you get off my porch. You don't even know what you're doing. You don't even know what you're teaching your son. And he left. What that did in me, though, even though my mom was really clear that night, she gathered us and said, a white man murdered your father, not the white race. And so she really made a distinction about what was happening and how he was treated in the newspaper. My father, when he died, blood, they show him on the floor. But if a white person in Kansas City at that time died, they would never show any of the violence or anything like that. But anyway, so I go on getting through all of this, trying to, and I knew my heart to combine, minds and hearts all over the world. So I began working very young. I went to college starting at 16, got work right away, working in Fortune 500 companies, teaching and training, bringing people together, their hearts and minds. I did that under the umbrella of inclusion, belonging, diversity. This is all a good thing. And what happened, Peggy, was so amazing because in putting circles of white folks talking to each other and then black folks and other people of color talking to each other and then mixing them up, is that we got to hear each other's dreams, but we also got to hear what people wanted to change in their lives.
Yes.
And what I began hearing week after week, month after month, in these big corporations was white people, not all of them, but some of them saying, I was taught that I'm better than you. And and I love my parents and always will, but I'm not that. I'm doing something different. And having heard that and really knowing that and seeing people really trying to change policies and their behavior and who's their friends and all of that, I all of a sudden, after a couple of months, remembering that day when the wife and the son of the man who murdered my father came to the door, and all of a sudden I had this awakening. It was huge. And what I realized is that I had dreamt about that many times, but what had happened over time is I saw everything, heard everything, but that white boy's face was gone. I could never see his face. And having heard all these in corporations, the people's stories, all of a sudden his face came back. And
Wow.
I could see him. And I knew if I ran into him, Peggy, in an airport, I would know who he was. And I just was like, oh my gosh, forgiveness happened in a big time way because I realized I was doing something that I felt was akin to what his father did, taking away someone's humanity. And I had literally wiped the face of this boy off. And so at that point, I realized the adult Anita in her 20s could realize what the 13-year-old could not, and filled with the pain and all of that stuff, was that, that summer day, my 5 brothers and sisters and I lost our father. But that summer day, that white boy lost his father too. And he grew up knowing he was a murderer. And so I just wish him and send him off from that day forward, forgiving him. And then I had to work on forgiving myself, which sometimes takes even more effort to forgive
Yes.
what you did. But
Yes.
I was really clear, oh my gosh. And that taught me so much about when you get stuck in pain, when you hold on to things that you'll never forget. So the really adverse things you're not going to forget, but you don't let them control you. And that was a big awakening so it happened in a corporate world, but very personal thing got shifted by the work I was doing.
Wow. That is so incredible. Wow, wow, wow. And I love the fact that, I mean, it seemed to me that when you couldn't see the face, that maybe the prejudice was all black, all white people are bad. And when you were able to see the face after some healing in yourself, then it could be displaced to this particular person was having a very bad day, right? And it was in shock and trauma or whatever. And and then opened your heart and and made you even more of understanding of how people get caught in their own prejudices, in their own, it's
Hurts. Mhm.
yeah, I have a story like that about my dad, that I was mad at him for not accepting me the way that I am. And at some point in some therapy, I had an insight that I'm rejecting him for not being the way I want him to be. So I'm doing to him what I'm mad at him doing to me. And then my inner guidance said, well, who's going to put the sword down first?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I think that's the question that we all come to with this situation of seeing other people as a group of people as bad or not as enough or somehow lesser, right? That and I love the fact that the white people in your corporation started speaking up and saying, I'm guilty and it was my conditioning. It was what people taught me. And I want to I want to unlearn this, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So how were you able? So it sounds like the adversity was having your father taken from you with no warning, like total shock, total trauma, and five children all of a sudden, probably no income. I mean, how incredibly devastating. And then to overcome it, obviously you were very, very intelligent and applied yourself going to college at such an early age and starting to work with people with your heart's desire to help them connect hearts and having these revelations. So I guess you shared with us how you overcame the adversity, which was
I
really,
think there's another piece to it,
yeah,
Peggy. I think a
let's hear
big
it.
one was being in the presence of people who, I don't think it's any mistake. I think the universe is working in our favor, God, Allah, whatever your language you want to call it. So it was the dream that kept pulling me to what I knew I was supposed to be doing, what I love to do in the
Yeah,
world. And it was also the indigenous belief systems, the indigenous knowing that the first instruction for us, pretty much indigenous people all over the world, I don't know them all, 6% of the world's population, but it's basically the first instruction is to love and care for yourself and love and care for all our relatives. That's both human, four-legged, water, I mean, all the different elements, everything. And that then said, you got to get busy with your work, this healing. And so a prophecy that I actually am a messenger of is called the Eagle Prophecy. And there were four gifts that Spirit gave to these 27 elders from all over the world, Indigenous elders, saying, human beings are, and this was in the mid 90s, human beings are forgetting how to be in harmony and balance with themselves and with the rest of the world. And I'm going to give you these four gifts and take it out to the rest of the world so that if they start, the promise from Spirit was, if you integrate these four gifts into your life, then you will remember. You will remember how to create harmony and balance in your own life and for all life that were a part of this hoop. So that was huge. So I've used those. I continue to use those four gifts, and they're not a secret, Peggy. Do you want to know them?
and please enlighten us of the four
Yeah,
things that can
for
help
sake of
us to
gifts.
love
And
ourselves
I'm an
and others.
author too. Yeah, so this was one of my books that was really writing about this prophecy and weaving my story through it. And so many elders from all over the world came forward to support me. And the four gifts that Spirit gave to these 27 Indigenous elders in ceremony here in Turtle Mountain, Chippewa, was first, the power to forgive the unforgivable. The power to forgive the unforgivable. That's the first. And so just take that in, those of you watching and listening. The second gift is the gift of the power of healing, the gift of the power of healing. And take that in. We all know, oh, healing is such an ongoing, important thing in our life. The third gift they gave to us is the gift of the power of unity. And we desperately need all these gifts, and that unity is, and so you might be start thinking as you're listening or hearing that, oh, my family, oh, my community, oh, where I worship, all different things, oh, the nature. Make sure, I'm going to suggest, we don't tell, but I would suggest if you don't see yourself in that picture of unity, put yourself in there because aligning your spirit, mind, emotions, heart, physical being, all of that. If that is not aligned, it's not unified either. So we have to do the inner work and the outer work. And then the last gift that Spirit put in there was this gift of the power of hope, hope in action. And hope is an energy source, and we need a lot of hope happening, a lot of dreaming needs to happen because as a friend of mine says, pain pushes till vision pulls. See, pain is pushing you to get out of that because it's our natural state not to be in pain. But
Right.
vision will pull you. Despite facts to the contrary, you will be pulled toward that. And that's the freedom that came from actually doing the awakening and continue to awakening. I've not arrived. I think that's sort of the joy of being a human being is that we get to have the joy and responsibility of constantly evolving and growing and feeling even more joy.
I
So
mean, it's
freedom,
great that
joy is
there's
big in
no
my life.
limit. I agree.
There's no limit. There is
Great
no
that
limit.
there is no limit to our awakening, to our expansion, to our joy, to our ability to give, etc., etc. Yeah, I love that.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so let's review the power of forgiveness, the power of healing, the power of unity, and the power of hope.
Yes. Those
So,
are the four. And don't use them just once. This is integrating. So
yeah.
since the mid-90s, I have been using those gifts. Oh, constantly, every day. In fact, my kids, when I used to fix them breakfast, my two sons, I would go, "Oh, it's a good day to heal." And they were pretty little, and they would say, "I don't think most mommies say that in the morning." But I was just like, I would just say each of these gifts at different times, but always healing every day. And because we're meant to. We're human beings. So of course
Yeah.
you forgive yourself from, but we don't want to get stuck and spiral downward. We're not going to forget. So I'm not trying to say la la land. We won't forget, but we don't have it to control us. So I and you can put our energy where we want today and what we want to create for tomorrow and gather with other people truly in unity and truly co-creating dreams. And that can only happen in the fullest way, I truly believe now, if you are also doing your forgiveness and your healing, then it's unlimited, the unity and the hope, the dreams, the visions.
Well, what a beautiful uh, soiree on human potential. Beautiful, beautiful. I hope everyone is taking in these words, rewinds, listens again, because that is really the essence of why we're here and what we're doing here. And if anybody is feeling uncertain or in confusion about your purpose, I think that these four guidelines can help you. And I want to say one thing about the healer is that I was just saying to somebody recently that, I don't know, the broken leg or something. And I was like, guess what? The body knows how to heal. The mental health knows how to heal. The heart knows how to heal. And we can set up conditions like putting on a cast or talking with a trusted friend or doing the forgiveness work that will support those things and happening and the healing happening. So I just wanted to say that, and that as a mom, I was struck when you said your kid said, "Well, normally, most moms don't say that." So when I meet children and they're a little bit mesmerized at my dwarfism and my height and everything, and I say to them, have you ever met a little person before? And they usually all shake their head no. And I say, well, today is your lucky day. So, if I would say any moms who's telling the spewing these pearls of wisdom on their kids can always say, guess what? You are so lucky. Today's your lucky day because I am an extraordinary mom and I am giving you the pearls of wisdom to have a full life, to have an incredible life, and to make an incredible impact in this world, like you have, Anita. And I'm sure that your children are as well. Yeah.
Amazing.
So share with us, if you would, how have applying these principles helped you in, well, obviously overcoming because you're having this incredible life. And she just shared with me, Anita shared with me before we started this interview that she just did a trip. She's been on many international trips lately. The one is from Lisbon to where?
To San Juan, Puerto Rico on a cruise
And
with
another one,
people, with foreign people who are all working on climate, on helping our climate get better. And yeah.
and also in
And the
the
other one was the Arctic Circle.
Arctic Circle. Yeah. And that, again, you're bringing together people maybe with different mindsets, different points of view, and helping them to find some place of unity, some place of healing, and some place of hope. Yeah. So share with us about your own journey and how those principles that help you to awaken to greater connection and joy in your life.
Well, first of all, well, there are a number of things. It's almost endless, but I would say the key things that come up for me is that um, I don't have it's not totally gone, but I don't have a lot of self-doubt. Like I can go there and get out of it really fast because I realize I am amazing. And as each of us, we're all sacred beings, as we learn from our indigenous upbringing, and that no one's higher, no one's lower, and everything is supporting you. So even us breathing right now, I'm going, thank you, plant relatives. You're taking my carbon and you're giving me oxygen. Thank you, water, for keeping me at 60% of my body as water. Thank you. So even though that, and then thanking all the two-leggeds who are support and stuff. So that gave me a sense of empowerment, a sense of knowing that I'm never doing anything alone. I just don't buy that we're doing anything alone because just like I said, just breathing, we don't even do that alone. But that means, wow, I'm a human being who has all this support. And as I was taught as a Nawa, the tribe is Aztecan or Toltec people would know, um, is that they didn't talk about happiness. That what they talked about was joy. Joy and responsibility were like this. See, the
Wow.
joy of being in community, part of the hoop of life, and responsibility to care for it, care for you and all the beings. So, I think it freedom, no doubt, having so much support, joy. I feel joy in a way, and I think that part of what I'm doing here, in which you're allowing people to come and share their story, I've always been fairly outspoken. However, I get on places that this little girl from Kansas City, grew up in poverty, economic poverty. I won't say all poverty, just economic. No one would have believed that I would be doing these things all over the world, you know? And here I am, Native American, Mexican American, a woman. I can go down the list of all those identity things. And I'm leading a good life. I don't deny the problems that are happening. I choose to work and on many of them as I can, in part in creating what I want, but I'm not going to get stuck there because I have my energy for other things. I just can't.
That's so beautiful. And I was really touched when you said that as an Indigenous person, you were taught that you're a sacred being. And in being a therapist and a trauma specialist, I encounter, and I'm in my own process as well, especially being a person who was judged as not enough or not okay the way I am, of the phenomenal psychological challenge I had to overcome to unfold the inner diamond, to see my true value, and to identify with that as my primary source of who I am, and how much it's taken chipping away all of the other accolades that have been put on me, and seeing this in my clients too. So I just want to just honor your tradition for seeing the spiritual part of you and reflecting that to you as a child, and how what a leg up in life that gives you. I mean, really, really beautiful.
It does. The illusion of separation on all sorts of things is what's out there. And what indigenous worldview, prophecy, et cetera, is all about, no, it's all interconnected. So if I hurt that water, I not only hurt the water, I hurt the people, nature, I hurt spirit. And if I do something good in spirit, I help the people, I help the myself, I help the nature. I mean, it's all connected. So this separation, and as we know now, I mean, anything could happen in one part of the world and clear, you know, on the other side of the earth, it's being experienced. So we are interconnected. Now, science is catching up with us. I love that biology and quantum physics and all of that. It's just wonderful that the things that we've known for thousands of years are finally being said. Scientists are coming to us and saying, tell us more about what you're, because how could you know this? way before the science was in place. And I always say, Peggy, it's
What
not
is
to
it?
be over anything, but I say, well, you know, the first peoples on this earth all over the world, of course they're going to be the first scientists. We were great observers, and we still are, of nature, of people, of animals, of spirit.
Of
We call
truth,
on spirit all the time.
of truth. And what I love about that observation is that it wasn't limited to the five senses, that they allowed themselves to observe with their heart, to observe with their deeper self, so that they could identify that spirit is as alive in them and everything else as the cells and the biology, whatever. I just love that. So okay, so this is like a totally unique conversation that I've never had with other people on this podcast, is that they had this advantage of coming into life with the understanding of their divine nature and of their connection to all that is. And obviously, joy is the outcome of all of that. So, could you explain a little bit how you feel that those understandings from your early or your early conditioning have helped you to um, experience a greater spiritual connection, and how that's been for you?
Oh, definitely. Well, definitely. I mean, it was my elders growing up, and as little as two or three, I remember sitting on the floor and hearing all this about us all being sacred and just stories and things that was really powerful. And to this day, now I sit on elder councils and I share the wisdom of prophecies and various things of how I'm seeing things. But just to know that we keep passing on for generations. And there's wisdom in the young generation. So I can't know what they know. But when we come together, this intergeneration stuff, it's amazing. But one of the other pieces of this wisdom, Peggy, is that if you think something or want to do something, and if you can't answer the question, is it of benefit to me, all those around me, and seven generations to come? Then pause, stop. It's as simple as that with every breath.
I love
And so
Let's
it
say
isn't
it.
simple,
Let's
but it
say
is
it again.
simple.
Could you say it again? What's the question that
Yes.
people
The
can ask?
question is, if you're about to do something or say something or think even something, if you can't answer this question in the positive, stop. That question is what I'm about to say, do, or think of benefit to me, to those around me, to my children's children's, other species' children, seven generations out? If I cannot say that, then stop. We used to all, I mean, it was always said, a decision is better than no decision. That's bull. That's why we have some of the problems. No, that's not true. Pause, come from your heart, talk to other people, sit in nature, listen. And so when you can answer that question, oh, I'm up today and let me know what I'm to do. And I greet the sun, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, and go. And I just ask that question several times a day to like, okay, where I'm putting my energy now, is this of benefit? And if it's no, then I go, that's my mind working things. Let me go do something else that is going to be a benefit. And we don't have to spiral downward. And our mind, which is wonderful, we don't want to lose our mind, we'd be dead. We need our mind, but the heart, the spirit, the body needs to teach the mind, not the other way around. The mind cannot be in control because it's like a gerbil, just can keep going. And our perception um, really can cloud perspective and the reality of what is of the seen and the unseen.
Well, that's an understatement. Yeah, because limited perspective gives a limited view of reality, and that what I would call science. That they've left out the whole part that's beyond the three dimensions of that they've discounted that it even is a part of reality. And so sorry for them.
Yeah. And but the good news is some are changing.
That's
So
true.
even some
Many
quantum
are
physicists
changing.
are saying, wait a minute, we can't, there is no explanation. And yet other people saying, no, there is.
Yes.
And we're seeing there that people are starting to understand, no, there is a spiritual, but science boundaries right now do not allow that. But that doesn't mean individuals don't include that in their science
Yeah,
and while they're looking at things.
quantum physics certainly does. And
Yes.
many people know about it or adhere to it, but I also find that it's interesting that the leading scientists, the really like out there extraordinary, like Einstein and Stephen Hawking's, these people are saying we are all connected. It's all one. Space is something, not nothing.
Time is
And
circular. Yes.
everything is connected and everything influences, like you were talking about, that the water and the breath and our thoughts even affect everything. So it's so beautiful. um let's see, anything else that you'd like to share with us today about this journey of moving from adversity to awakening, Anita?
Yeah. Yes, I think two things. If you can just look at the possibility that you do nothing alone, you do nothing alone. That actually is a freedom. Some people think, oh, my ego, oh, I can't. You actually will have more strength and power and ability to make positive change and support people and other and nature. So that's I think is a big thing.
It's a lot
And
about connection. I mean,
yes,
not
about
doing it
connection
alone.
and look inside yourself
Yes, and
because
connect.
ultimately that is inside of you. But sometimes, again, it's generally because of we have to reach out and get some wisdom from nature, from elders, young or old, and all of those things. So yes, I think that's it. And whoever you are, whatever you look like, whatever gender you are, whatever sexuality you are, whatever, all the different things, you matter. You're part of the hoop of life. It all matters. I'm not going to tell a tree it doesn't matter. It matters. The water, it matters that we have clean water. It really does.
We
So that's just,
matter.
it matters, and you matter too. So, yes, and I also invite them to read my book, Peggy, and I invite you too, that
You like
the
to
Four
show, do
Sacred
you have it
Gifts.
there on your, behind you or in front of you?
Yeah, it's right here. It's
Let's see.
called
Show
the
us.
Four Sacred Gifts, Indigenous Wisdom for Modern Time. And what I just shared with you,
Oh,
that is
yes.
told in there, my story, other people's story, but it's using those four gifts because there's lots that can be done with those gifts. And so this you can get a free song when you get this. There's a place where you can get a song, but you can also just go to foursacredgifts.com. You don't have to buy a thing and just look at some of the things that I have there. Foursacredgifts.com. It will tell you about the book and my class and all that. And it will share with you some of the wisdom, some of the stories that, because basically I know my part here is to connect heads and hearts all over the world.
Well, I also think that you are inspiring our hearts to be the best version of ourselves that we can bring, and that this offering of the four gifts, the forgiveness, let's see if I can remember them, the healing, the uh, unity, and the
Unity.
hope, and that as we grow in our ability to behave in alignment with these values and qualities within ourselves, that our lives become better and better, and we have a more and more positive impact on the people that we come in contact with, and the nature and the everything on every level. So it's so beautiful. People can get a hold of you at anita-sanchez.com, right?
Yes.
And any other, do you work with people and groups or just in?
Yes, I do that. I do. I still do, businesses and community groups call me in. And I do that work as well as I do individual work too. And I do lots of work. It doesn't even feel like work, none of it. Um,
No.
Time with elders from all over the world, Indigenous elders. We're bringing together and sharing what we look at regeneration, respect of nature, and things to do to help resolve, because the answers are already here. Some of the climate issues, some of the social issues, economic issues, and so I feel really blessed. I'm I'm leading a good life.
Well,
And
I
it's
feel
not about stuff. It's about amazing, amazing energy
well.
of people who are around me and nature.
Anyone with eyes that can see can clearly see that you have a beautiful inner light and a lot of sunshine in your heart, and it's not clouded over with anger, resentment, um, frustration, and anxiety. So it's beautiful to see you as a walker of your talk, what do they call that in the Indigenous world? Do they have a special name for people who walk their
They talk about walking the red road.
walking
That
the
means keeping true to your values, to Indigenous beliefs about, holding sacred everything and also the values and, just keep alive what has been handed down thousands of years, the ceremonies, the songs, the dances, community, what that really means. Yeah,
and we all
it's all
know
of it.
we use a lot more connection in today's world. I mean, one of the number one things that's the woes is people feeling alone, people feeling disconnected. And unfortunately, they don't have this information that you're sharing with us today that we're all divinely endowed with an ability to connect with all that is, right? And if we just take a little time to practice these values that are in the four gifts and to look within ourselves and connect with the ancient wisdom. I'm so I'm so honored and I feel so grateful that you have developed into this amazing human being and that you are sharing your wisdom and light with people and helping hearts and minds come together, helping communities, helping people from divergent and conflicting sides come together. What an incredible blessing and such a testimony to what can happen when people use their adversity to awaken to who they really are, to their connection with God and to all that is, and to the goodness that comes about from that.
Thank you, Peggy.
Yes,
It's
thank
been fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right, everybody. Another great episode. I'll hope you join me on the next episode. Uh, you could, yeah, I think that's all I have to say for today. So see you next time. And thank you so much, Anita.
Bye.